Welcome back, everybody. It is the Working Brother, and this time, Texas, Russell Bentley. How you doing, Texas? Long time no talk.
Yeah, man, good to see you again. We're doing okay here, still alive, still kicking. Did some good humanitarian aid this morning with German Nikolaevich from Leningrad. He's down here bringing a whole bunch of good stuff for the people. Met him today with my godmother, Lucy, from Donetsk Humanitarian Aid. We got some other cool stuff, too. A friend of ours from Switzerland sent a bunch of really professional grade colored pencils, which are going to be for kids either in an art school or a regular school. And an artist friend of mine that helps to get them here, she told me these are really like top quality pencils from Geneva, Switzerland. They're, artist grade, professional grade. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're going to do is find a school and have that school have the kids do some drawings for the soldiers, like often are done, where the kids say thanks for defending us, and then it'll be like a contest. And we got about 750 of these pencils. And it's basically 22 sets, of all different
Nice,
colors and good like that.
nice.
So we'll have a contest, and then like the top either 22 uh, pictures will give a set to each, or maybe the top 11 and give two sets to each, because it's not like something for writing your grocery list or something. They're for people that have a real artistic talent.
Yeah,
So then
yeah.
we can get like the double whammy with not only do the kids get the pencils, but the soldiers get some pictures.
This is the art supplies there that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We finally figured out how to show people the Telegram channel here. So, in case you don't know, this is what Telegram looks like. This is Texas's channel. And there's a bunch of interesting stuff that he posts. So, there'll be a link below. Oh, this is that Polish airplane that we were talking about the other day.
Which NATO is now using as an excuse to up the military preparedness for their air forces around the Black Sea, Poland, Romania, like that. And also people need to know that there's the biggest NATO air exercise in history is going to
Mm-hmm.
start in June. 200 combat aircraft from all over NATO are coming to Poland, which, as everybody knows that knows geography, is right next door to Ukraine. And they say it's just an exercise, but wars often start with exercises, and having, an extra 200 combat aircraft is a real provocation, but also it could, be, you could call it a game changer if all of a sudden those weapons start working.
Yeah, if it went from exercise to live, as they often do, like you say, it
Mm-hmm.
could spell trouble. That's for sure. One of the updates that I wanted to cover before we get into any of the small talk is the fact that your neighbor's house basically got hit. Um, Something
Yeah.
like every time we talk, we discuss how Donetsk gets hit on a regular basis, and it's become so regular that I've become mute to it, and it's a terrible shame. Let's bring some attention to yet another crime of the
It's
U
really it's
crops.
really a crime, dude. It was like 6 o'clock this morning. Um, these are not just our neighbors, and I mean from the same neighborhood in Petrovsky district. Actually, a whole family got hit. Their house is destroyed. Uh, the mom, the husband, and the two kids, are seriously injured in the hospital right now. We're going to give blood for them in the morning. I have the same blood type as the mom, who also happens to be a school principal in Petrovsky district that my wife, who is a school teacher, used to work with. You know what I mean? It was like a 3-year-old kid, a 1-year-old kid, and the mom and dad, all in the hospital, all seriously wounded. And, right in our neighborhood, our friends. I mean, it's really close to home, I mean, speaking of close to home, I mean, our house in Petrovsky has sustained some damage in the last couple of months itself. I mean, not a direct hit or anything, but, multiple hits within 100 meters, which is basically, the kill zone for these 155s, which is what hit this house today. And, I mean, it's getting old, I mean, we're wondering exactly what the plan is when, everybody says, oh, we know, just trust the generals, and, Putin's got a secret plan and everything's going to come together real soon. And, it's, talk is cheap. We're ready to see him get to work. And as we see from what happened in Bakhmut recently, and particularly in the last 48 hours, it's not impressive in the least. And it's enough to start pissing people off here, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I feel you. I don't know. There's a lot of interpretations of what's going on the front and what's been going on, and how as you say, the battle in Bakhmut is developing. And I don't know what to make of it. What's your general take?
Well, I mean, if you want to figure out what's going on, just look at what's going on. I mean, the first law of politics is what they say means nothing, and what they do means everything. And the first law of war is that it's results that count and nothing else. And we can see the results. I mean, some people, they're saying, oh, this thing about the lack of ammo. Prigozhin making these videos where he's really angry and he's showing his dead guys and saying half these guys wouldn't be dead. Actually, he said more than half wouldn't be dead if the Russian Ministry of Defense was giving us the shells that we need, the ammunition that we need to do our job, which Wagner has done a better job than any, unit in the Russian military, followed by the Donbass military units, followed by the Chechens, and then you can start talking about anything that the Russian army's gotten done. So, people say, oh, well, it's, the idiots, they say, oh, it's just a dramatic ruse, and it's just a way to pull the Ukrainians into Bakhmut so they can destroy more of them, I mean, and that's just stupid, because if, the Ukrainians have decided they're going to keep Bakhmut, they're keeping coming in, and the Wagners, are really doing a great job there of whittling down, the Ukrainian forces, and they've done that. A lot of hardcore Ukrainian units don't exist anymore because Wagner's smoked them all, or captured them all, or wounded them all, So, and people say, oh, he's so emotional. It's just, he's faking it. He's only acting, and that's just stupid, man, because, he wouldn't be showing his own dead guys unless he had a reason. And that reason is he's going public because he's already tried for months, to get the MOD, off their ass and to start doing their jobs. And they're just not doing it, and even after this last video where he said, look, we're leaving on the 10th if we don't get, what we need to survive. And the MOD didn't send them any shells. They have not sent the shells that they promised that they would. Wagner didn't leave, but who left today? A bunch of the Russian army units that were supposed to be guarding their flanks. Multiple reports from absolutely reliable sources. Daniil Besanov, who used to be the deputy.
Were they Russian regulars? Were they Russian regulars, or
Russian
were they?
Regulars, no, they're.
I heard there was another PMC, like not Wagner, but some other one that was covering the southern flank. No, it was regulars.
No. That's all the information that I've got from multiple sources, reliable sources, is it was regular Russian army units that left their positions on the flanks. And Wagner had to take some of its guys off the front, from rest and recuperation after they've been in battle for days or something to go cover their own flanks, and it's just, I mean, people say, oh, well, there's no explanation for it. But, and at this point, the people that used to say, oh, well, these generals are just stupid, and that doesn't even cut it anymore. It looks like they're, the only logical explanation is that they're letting these guys die, on purpose.
Like,
and that's a dangerous thing to say, but I mean, what other explanation is? They don't give them ammo, and now they're leaving their flanks exposed. The guys are just leaving positions. Russian army units are just withdrawing from positions that it would be deadly for Wagner to leave open. And the Ukrops have advanced, and I'm talking about like 500 meters on a 600-meter front, which is a big chunk of territory to take, in one day. And it was territory that Wagner had to fight, for months, and, taking it a meter at a time, house to house and stuff. And the Russians just get up and leave, and the Ukrops can just walk right in, dude. I mean, so, if you judge the military operation by its results, it's shit. That's all you can say. It's a failure.
I want to like shift the mood a bit, but stay on topic with the Bakhmut stuff. Surovikin was appointed as the liaison, basically, between the army and Wagner.
That's a fact.
And also it has surfaced, or there's a rumor going around, that it was Surovikin who worked with Prigozhin from the onset of the Bakhmut operation to create a meat grinder. As
That's
into
also
like,
a fact. Yes.
Yeah.
That's so confirmed by both of them.
Yeah. So from that perspective, do you think that the like long-term Bakhmut operation of grinding down as many Ukrainians as possible has been a success?
No.
not fully, huh?
Well, I mean, the thing is, how do you measure success? Yes, they've killed a lot of Ukrops, and a lot of good men on our side have died too, and I mean a lot. I mean, so, and for what? They've gotten almost all of a city that's just totally destroyed in rubble now, and if the Russians continue as they are, the Ukrops are going to take it all back right quick from the guys whose flanks got left open and from the guys who don't have any more ammo. Mm-hmm. And dude, the worst nightmare of any soldier is to be stuck on a position with no ammo and the enemy closing in from behind. Yeah. And that's exactly the position that, from all reports coming from, qualified people in that are there on that front, that's exactly what's happening right now, And then you get back into talking about like, well, that's the same thing they did in Zaporozhye, the same thing they did in Kherson. They came in and then they ran away, and a lot of people got left, And if they can do it there, there's a lot of people here in Donetsk that wondering, maybe we're a bargaining chip too, Maybe they'll say, all right, we'll give you Donetsk if you let us keep Crimea or some shit like that,
Do you really think that's a possibility that they'll bargain Donetsk? I somehow didn't get that feeling when I was there. Like, well, it felt pretty permanent.
I'm not saying that I think that they're going to do that, but there's a lot of people here that are starting to wonder if they are, and wonder why they haven't done better by now. Wonder why after 16 months of this military operation, this special operation, that the Ukrops are still, 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers from the city limits of Donetsk.
Yep.
I mean, in war, it's results that count. That's all there is,
Yeah. What about the Avdiivka front? How's that developing? Is it still a stalemate there?
Yeah, it's still a stalemate. The Ukrops still control the whole city of Avdiivka. I mean, our guys have made some advances around the flanks. It is, you know, probably 70% encircled,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of our guys dying there. I can tell you that. I mean, I have a very close friend, a guy that I served in combat with, who's there now in a Spetsnaz unit, and he's not happy about the way it's going, and he's not optimistic about the future.
Um, Victory Day passed recently. Did you celebrate in Donetsk? Was there a
I mean, there
procession?
was there was no organized parade or anything like that. Of course, it would have been suicidal. And I mean, Ludmilla and I, we went over to my godmother's house. We had a pretty good dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but there wasn't much to celebrate, man. We'll celebrate Victory Day when we have our own victory. I mean, we can, all this talk about the great deeds of our grandfathers, which were great, but that
Mm-hmm.
rings hollow here when we see the deeds of their grandsons on the, in the Russian army, the guys who are calling the shots now. They, you know, they're a long way from victory, a long way from victory. Victory in this war will be when Russia controls the city of Kiev down to the northern border of Moldova and everything east of that. To talk about, oh, we're going to just control Zaporozhye and Kherson and Donbass and Lugansk oblasts. That's not just a failure. That's a ridiculous, humiliating failure.
Mm-hmm.
To say, oh, we're going to take everything up to the Dnieper River is not just a failure. It's maybe not a humiliating failure, but it's a ridiculous failure because if the Ukrops are on the other side of the Dnieper River, they've already used chemical weapons. They're more than happy to use biological weapons. The main water source, for eastern half of what used to be Ukraine is the Dnieper and its tributaries. If they're on the other side, they can do anything they want to that water. The Dnieper is also a major, transport system for, main goods coming down, throughout Ukraine down to the
Mm-hmm.
Black Sea. You can't, I mean, if the Ukrops are on the other side, Russia can't use that. I mean, you can't, what are you going to do? Nobody's going to drive a ship full of coal or timber or whatever down the Dnieper if they're going to be getting shot at from one side, every time they go. So, the minimum is Kiev and everything east of it, and we're still a long, long way from there.
What
And
do
the
you make
danger
of
is,
what do you make
go
of
ahead.
that one Ukrainian guy? Was it Zaluzhny? I try not to remember their names on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that was missing from that NATO meeting that like
Mm-hmm.
supposedly got hit by a missile.
Well, I mean, he was Zelensky's main competition. He was the guy for sure who, if the Americans got tired of Zelensky's antics, was going to be the guy that replaced him. And now he's disappeared. I mean, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really see a lot of UCROP generals going down to Bakhmut. It is a meat grinder. You know, um, he may well be dead. A lot of people think that he is, and the story is that if he is, then it was because he was bravely fighting on the Bakhmut front. But
Mm-hmm.
probably he just got a couple in the back of the head, and then they took him down there and threw him on some rubble.
You don't think he was calibrated? You think he was two in the back of the head, huh?
Well, I mean, nobody really knows for sure at this point, but my
Mm-hmm.
estimation is he wouldn't go down to Bakhmut, on his own decision. I mean, he wouldn't go down there willingly.
Yeah.
And so if he's found down there, somebody either made him go down there like physically or, somewhere else and then took his body down there.
I know you've got better things to do than watch my uploads, so I doubt very much that you watched the very recent one where I talked to one of our regular guests, George, who was in Thailand, and he ran into some British people.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that one.
Yeah, he went, and he saw some British people there, and they were the force multiplier kind, so they were on the outskirts of Bakhmut, and he basically confirmed the 4-hour survival time and the fact that he never saw any of the people he trained again.
Well, I mean, it's, and I'm glad to hear that, dude. I mean, and it is a fact, or at least generally accepted on our side, that Wagner has taken out a lot of the elite units of the Ukrainian army. I mean, their main thing was to throw in just conscripts, just to plug the gap with bodies, so to say. And but they had to have some professional guys in there at least to keep the conscripts from running away. And a lot of those guys got hit too. So I just, I got to really say that I just hate the British government, man, more so than the U.S. government. The British are now sending the long range missiles. They're going to continue to escalate this thing. I mean, the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get, and the less chance for any kind of outcome that's not just going to be horrific for everybody.
Here's the range for those missiles. Yeah, saw that earlier today, that they decided that they're gonna give out the missiles by the end of the month. So we'll see where that goes, but it's probably not gonna go anywhere.
An interesting thing about what you just showed, that map with the storm shadows, is that it's not so much how deep they can go into Russia, although that is a serious consideration, but it's also equally as important how far back they can launch them from inside Ukraine to the front lines, or not far behind the front lines,
Yeah. I also got Kim.com. I was on Twitter the other day, maybe even earlier today.
Yeah, I think I saw that, dude.
And Kim.com had a take on Trump and CNN, and massive audience applause, the people wanting peace. How do you feel about the fact that it is, the U.S. media, or the globalist media, let's put it that way, and the people in power who are pushing this war to extremes, including that Borrell speech, I don't know, or interview, if you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Where he said, for the people who are not aware, I'm just going to briefly clue them in. He said basically that if the European Union and the West stopped supporting Ukraine, the war would end in 2 days because Ukraine would have nothing left to fight with. So how do you feel about that, let's say, development?
Well, I mean, like I said, the sooner this war ends, the better. But it cannot end without a Russian victory, which means everything east of Kiev, including Kiev. A lot of people don't understand that this is an existential fight. It is a war between NATO and Russia, and it is every bit as much of a threat to Russia as the German Nazis were in 1941. And I mean, it's going to end in victory or death, either for Russia or for, at least, economically speaking and politically speaking, or else the EU and the United States. And because whoever loses is going to lose not only militarily in Ukraine, but they're going to lose economically and politically, and morally, around the world. And they're going to, whichever side loses is going to be, relegated to third world status, So, the Russians need to understand it, and the Americans need to understand too that it's not the Russians that started this war. It's not the Russians that are attacking the American people, but the American people have failed to do their job, which is to stand up to their literally Nazi government themselves, protect themselves from their own people that want to exterminate them and enslave them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's like, dude, I read a little bit of something about, by Scott Ritter today. My hero, Scott Ritter, who's now here on his luxury book tour. He's been in Baikal. He's been riding the business class bullet train.
I just want to say it's good. It's good that we transitioned it into the comedy segment of tonight's show.
Yeah. Well, you guys can laugh, but I'm not kidding, dude. And I'll tell you this. So Ritter was sitting at in Moscow in the stands, for the most third-rate Victory Day parade in Moscow that's been since 1940.
Hold on. I gotta get before we get into the Ritter thing. Is Russia running out of tanks? Because you bring up the parade.
No, dude. No. It was probably. The thing is, you just got to look at it from the perspective of Russian people, and especially the people that are, on the Russian border that are getting bombed, in Donbass and like that, if Russia had a big parade this year with hundreds of tanks and la-di-da flowing down, Russian people would be saying, why the hell are those tanks in Moscow? How come they're not working on the front, And which is a legitimate question. So,
I think it was purposeful. Like it was toned down for like, the perception inside Russia, basically. You don't think it's like...
of course, and with good reason. And it was the right move to make, because, in Moscow, other than letting a couple of drones bomb the Kremlin recently, they're not getting hit in Moscow, so to have some big prestigious parade there, ostentatious parade, would have been in very, very poor taste, while people in Petrovsky are still getting killed every day, bombed and killed, when it's in ostensibly Russian territory,
Yeah.
When, half of Donetsk Oblast is still under Ukrainian occupation, and it's supposed to be Russian territory. So, they ain't got time for a big fancy parade if there's still Nazis sitting on Russian land, So they made the right move.
Back to Ritter and his book tour.
And his book tour and his luxury train and his fancy restaurants and la-di-da. And you know what? I wrote a book too a couple of years ago. And I never could get any place to publish it in the States in English. And I haven't had anybody publish it here in Russia yet. It's translated into Russian too. And people say that it's a well-written, interesting book, a good story. It is.
I read it. I read it. It's not too long. It is a good book. Yeah.
And there's not another one like it, dude. There is not another one like it. And it's literally a historical document about 2015 on the front, of the Donbass War. And several years ago, when I still had Facebook, I just said, hey, anybody that wants a copy of my book PDF, like electronic copy, it's $10 each. And I sold over 1,000 books, which is not bad for a first time writer. And I charged $10 each. And I gave half the money to Donbass Humanitarian Aid. So I don't know how much Ritter is making off of his book, but I'm wondering how much he's going to give, to help his friends, the Russians, because, what I did read today that just really sickened me is that
Go on.
he said, I want Russia and America to be friends. He didn't say, the Russian people and the American people, which a lot of Russian and American people, they have no animosity to each other, the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
It's the governments that are not friends, that are, in fact, enemies.
As it is
But I
always.
mean, it's like, and actually, the United States government is not just the deadly enemy of Russia, it's the deadly enemy of the world. The people
Mm-hmm.
that own and control the United States government and the governments of Europe, Japan, Australia, the global deep state, the parasite class, the golden billion, and they are a deadly threat to the future of humanity. And their main target right now is Russia. And then once they eliminate Russia, if they can, then they'll start working on China. But, for Ritter to come here and say, I want Russia and America to be friends, I mean, considering that the people who control the American government are genuine Nazis, it would be like in 1942, Jack London coming to Moscow and saying, hey, I just want, the Germans and the Russians to be friends. It don't work like that. If somebody is blowing up your cities, torturing and murdering your soldiers, using chemical weapons, threatening to use nuclear and biological weapons, that's not somebody you want to be a friend with. A Nazi is like a mad dog. There's only one way to deal with them, and that's put them out of their misery. And, nobody here is against Ukrainian people or American people, but anybody that has a swastika tattoo and says Heil Hitler and does the things that Nazis do, thinks that they're the master race and that, people different from them are eligible to be executed or enslaved or used for any other purpose, biological experiments, or, hey, let me borrow your liver, stuff like that. There's no way to deal with them, And so, Ritter's here on a fool's errand, and, just, and I don't really pay that much attention to him, but, the more I do, the less I like him and the stupider I think he is and the people that do pay attention to him.
On the off chance that this does get around to him, do you want to invite him down to Donbass?
I already
Wanna...
did, dude. And, and they say maybe he'll come if he's got the fucking gonads. And if he does, I doubt he'll have the gonads to look me up and debate me face to face live. And I
that would be
guarantee
fun.
he doesn't have the gonads to do what you did, which is go to Petrovsky and feed the kiddies with me.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he does. You never know.
Well, let's
he
see.
could
Let's
surprise.
see.
He could surprise. Let's see. I just want to bring up two little things here that I've got queued on the topics that you were discussing just now. This is Kim.com saying he feels bad for Americans. Your corrupt politicians sold you out. Your spies created a deep state with arms manufacturers, big tech, and media. Your corporations buy laws that only benefit them. Your rules do not apply to the powerful, and your elections are rigged. What will you do? Texas, what's your message to the American people?
That's a very accurate description of what the rulers of America these days are. And it's the most important question of the 21st century is what will American people do? Anyone that believes in Trump or believes that voting changes anything in the United States is just a fucking fool, man. I mean, at this point, and I'm serious, dude. I mean, listen, bro, I voted.
I'm not debating you. I'm not debating you.
For the first time I voted in 1988. for Ron Paul, Libertarian Party for president.
That was the first time you voted, huh? For Ron.
Yeah. And
Nice.
the last time I voted was for Ralph Nader for the Green Party in 2000.
Mm.
And
Not
I
the
ran,
wisest.
and in 19.
What were your other options? Wait. When you voted for Nader, what were your other options?
It was Bush Jr. and Gore.
Oh, okay. Then in that case, maybe Nader was the best option. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Ralph Nader. He's a man of principle and intelligence, which,
Mm-hmm.
You certainly can't say that either of those apply to Bush, and at least principle doesn't apply to Gore at all, But, I ran for U.S. Senator in 1990. I was on the ballot. I got 30,000 votes on a $300 budget.
Nice.
For an independent political party whose one platform was to legalize weed.
In Texas.
And I ask, hold on. I ask any American that's listening to this one question. When was the last time that the U.S. federal government did anything that made life better for, the common people, for the regular people, the non-multimillionaires and billionaires in the United States?
Obamacare.
No. I mean, it's not funny. And the only thing that any intelligent person can even try to answer is, well, they legalized weed, which was a step in the right direction, in which we fought, almost as hard as the people in Donbass fight to make that happen. I spent 5 years in prison because I was trying to make that happen, trying to help make that happen. And, it's, and that's what it takes. I mean, it's going to take people that are willing to go to prison. It's going to take people that are willing to get beat up in the streets, bashed in the head by batons, like these people in France are doing a pretty impressive job, and they have been for years now. The Yellow Jackets, the Jean Gilets, and those guys, they're putting a dent in, the ruling class in France right now. And that's exactly what it's going to take. I mean, you ain't going to change the world by voting. You're not going to change it by writing a letter to your politician or your letter to your editor. You're not going to change it by hitting like on Facebook. If you're not willing to, to risk and sacrifice, then, don't sit around the coffee shop with your Che Guevara t-shirt on and talk big, just go ahead and shut up.
I just got to jump in. I just got to jump in for the YouTube and for the legal aspect. We're not calling for any call to action. But
no. Goodness heavens to Betsy, no. That would be,
We are pacifists, as is outlined by the flag behind you and what's
That's
leaning
right
on the flag.
I mean, that's in case, some squirrels try and climb in the window or something, in case I have to go hunting for pheasants.
Or seals.
Yeah, or seals, exactly. I mean, but the thing is, it's like people have to understand, dude, I wrote a song 20 years ago called Around the Corner. And it said, if things keep going the way they're going, just where do you think they're going to go?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that was 20 years ago. And nobody could have believed that things would be as bad as they are now. I mean, the censorship, the propaganda, the economic crimes, the theft of literally trillions now that's been sucked up by the parasite class. And that's why people are dying in the United States from lack of health care, lack of food, lack of housing, lack of hope for the future. I mean, it's, it's us or them, dude. The parasite has to be removed from the host, or the parasite will devour the host.
Yeah, and these parasites are absolutely everywhere. It's a global phenomenon, and
It is a global phenomenon, and I think that there's too many of them in Russia too. I'm not saying that Putin is one of them. I don't believe he is. Uh, I'm not saying that he's controlled by them, but he doesn't control them. They do what they want, and they have their guys that they do control making decisions that are very dangerous for Russia. And apparently he's not able to stop them. So
shift gears, because I know you're like, let's say, generally well-educated person, and you're in on what's going on around the world, and you've been around for a while. So I'd like to get your take on what's going on in Sudan. What do you make of
same old song and dance, bro? Russia went in there. They made a deal with Sudan. Sudan was going to let them have a military base there.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? It was like a month later, Victoria Nuland or something shows up. And then all of a sudden there's, a military coup d'etat attempted. There's rebellion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's different, than what they did in Libya, what they tried to do in Turkey against Erdogan, what they did here in Maidan in Ukraine as well. It's the exact same playbook, dude.
Yeah. And I'm guessing your take on the former Pakistani president, Imran Khan, I believe his name is.
Imran Khan, who was not necessarily, a revolutionary firebrand Che Guevara type guy, but the dude that's in power now is a total U.S. puppet. The people of Pakistan support Khan, to the extent that, Imran Khan was arrested and like a couple of million Pakistanis went out into the streets, against it, so, and it's like, what's happening with Imran Khan in Pakistan is like the for real version of what all this, all these legal charges against Trump now. And again, I have nothing good to say about Trump except that he wasn't Hillary Clinton, which is not much, but these are stupid, trumped up charges. Any other billionaire could have gotten away with it without even, ruffling his hair. But because, the deep state in the United States wants to eliminate him as a competitor for, the senile, degenerate, most humiliating president in American history. So they're bringing up all these trumped up charges. Trump's a clown. He's totally corrupt. He's a billionaire. He surrounded himself when he was president with some of the lowest, scurviest scumbags in America. And I got nothing good to say about him. This Robert Kennedy Jr. dude, I don't have much good to say about him either. He's done a good job about raising people's level of understanding about the medical issue of the century, shall we say. And and that's good, but to me, he stinks a lot like Ritter. Ritter came out of nowhere. He started jumping on the bandwagon of Ukraine and all this stuff. And I think maybe Kennedy did the same thing. He saw the medical question as something that, he could get behind and would get a lot of support for if he started saying, I won't say the
what
truth,
the people wanted to hear.
the alternative view and what people wanted to hear, which is exactly what Ritter's doing, man. I mean, when he tells people, "Oh, don't worry, the Russians are going to win," that also, I mean, that not only gets him a big fan club in Russia. I catch more shit from Russians when I criticize Ritter than I do from Americans, But also in America, the thing is, when Ritter tells everybody, "Oh yeah, Russians are gonna denazify Ukraine next week or something," which he's been saying for a year now. But what it does is it makes, the so-called, alternative left or whatever it is, whatever it calls itself in America, then they can go, they got something to talk about in the coffee shop while they're wearing their Che Guevara t-shirt, and they got, and it relieves them of any feeling of responsibility. When the fact is, Russia's in a very, very serious place right now, and it needs the support, the serious, like in the street kind of support of all good people around the world. In Europe and the United States, people need to not just let their rulers hear them whining, but to feel their discontent. And when Ritter says, "Oh, don't worry, the Russians are going to win, everything's going to be okay," and that also, it makes the Americans and people in Europe, makes them think, "Oh, well, it's just the Russian-Ukrainian thing, no big deal. We're way over here. It's not going to affect us." And it will, man, because, the military war and the economic war are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And whoever loses one is going to lose the other. Absolutely. And it's going to be, victory or death. The one who's defeated is going to cease to exist as, at least, if not a viable political entity, which it very well could, then at least as a significant one,
Yeah.
And that goes for Europe and the United States. And the people there, when they keep listening to Ritter's lullabies, they're like, "Oh, let's go buy another six-pack. We don't have to worry about that. Scott Ritter knows everything about it, and he's got it all covered, And I hate to hear that, dude. But the thing where he said, "I just want America and Russia to be friends," I mean, I just, and I haven't paid any attention to him for a long time. I don't listen to McGregor. I don't listen to Martinov. I just, because I know they're full of it, so, but, I got into it with somebody yesterday on V-Contact. They were giving me a bunch of flack about it. And so I thought, and actually it was Ludmilla. She said, "Well, when's the last time you listened to this guy?" And I'm like, I don't even remember. I think, first couple of months of the, it was like the old vineyard of the sacred, dude. Once you hear them jabbering and that they're completely wrong. I mean, it's like, why waste your time listening to an idiot, But, she said, "Well, maybe you should check him out. Maybe you're wrong." And, and I did, because you know what? That's what an intelligent person says. Maybe I'm wrong. And so I did, and then the first thing I see is him riding the bullet train in the dining car, business class dining car.
He's obviously sponsored by somebody
very big with a lot of money, and it's the people with a lot of money that are not the patriots of Russia, that are not, considering the best interests of Russia. And that's an important thing to understand about who it is that's bringing Ritter here to say all this same BS here, But, and then I come across this thing, "Oh, Russia and America should just be friends," dude. It's like Stalin and Hitler should just shake hands and make up, It's like on the third grade playground, It doesn't matter who started it.
I was just gonna say it's like fourth grade politics, man. Maybe that's like the height of his vocabulary, or at least maybe his audience's vocabulary. So he's pandering to the audience.
It is. He's telling them, people these days they love to hear good news. They love to hear what they want to hear, and they love to hear that everything's going to be okay. And
So
apparently you can make a lot of money and get on a lot of talk shows by saying that. But, I mean, it's like the old cartoon, where it's like, there's two different doors and one says the comforting truth and there's a line a mile long
yeah,
and then it says the heart, or the comforting lie and there's a long
yeah.
mile long line and then the hard truth. And the guy's
There's
just sitting
nobody
there and
there.
nobody's there, And I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry if I offend people. No, well, actually, I don't really care if I offend people, and I don't, I mean, I don't like to
Link.
be considered, a rude and aggressive and angry asshole, but I don't really care what people think about me. I know what I'm talking about. I don't get, the news of what's happening here, off the internet. I don't read the vineyard of the sacred to see what's happening here. I can look out the window in Petrovsky. I don't even have to look out the window. I can hear it through the walls sometimes, I mean, and my friends that are on the front in multiple different units on multiple parts of the front, man. Like I said, I mean, Spetsnaz, Sober, Wagner, Vostok, 11th Infantry, none of these guys are saying, "Oh, that everything's okay and we're gonna be winning pretty soon."
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a hard, serious. It's the Third World War, Nazis against humanity, winner takes all, and it's victory or death, and that's really what it is. And if the whatever few percent of the people that are not just brainwashed enough to to eat shit and like it, if those people don't get like real serious, then then the future of this world is grim, and it makes me glad I'm getting old, because I don't want to have to stay around and see how things are going if they keep going the way they're going to go. But I'm a Christian. I'm an Orthodox Russian Christian. And I'll tell you something, bro, that's, the ultimate victory is knowing this, that there is a God and that there is another life after this, that is, and how it goes in the next life depends on what we do here. And so, you know, I feel like I've caused less pain to this world than it's caused to me. So when my judgment day comes around, you know, I don't think, I mean, I'm not perfect by any means, but if I have to suffer all the pain that I've caused this world in my next life, then it'll be less pain than I've caused in this one. So our job is not to save the world. Our job is to save our own souls by trying to save the world in a real way, because that's the only way, that's the only chance that we have for even the hope of saving the world and making it better for the future generations, the kids to come. I mean, these kids didn't ask to be born into this world, and we have an obligation not to welcome them into a flaming shithole, And I mean, so that's my responsibility. That's why I've never had kids.
Poetic as always, Texas. Poetic as always.
Well,
but at least you're honest, man. You're straightforward. That's why everybody loves you.
I am a poet, dude. That's my natural inclination, is to, drink wine and sing songs to pretty girls on a beach somewhere, But
warrior poet.
A warrior poet, I do. But above all, I'm a moral person, and I don't mean I'm a saint by any means. And I mean, although I don't beat off to 16-year-old girls on the internet like some guys
Texas.
I know.
You
But
really want us to you really want this channel to get, every time you come on, you have to, like, you do so well, and then, like, right near the end, you always bring up a topic that's just, like, drastic, and, like,
well, I mean,
6 months
dude,
down the
it's in
line,
the news,
this
man.
video
I
is
mean,
going to get flagged.
you can look it up on the internet, and you know it's true if it's on the internet.
Yeah.
But my point is that Che Guevara wrote a letter to his children when he
Mhm.
went to Bolivia, when he pretty much knew that he wasn't going to come back. And it's a great letter that everyone should read, because he didn't just write it to his children, he wrote it to the world. And when I read it, I felt as if he had written it to me. And one of the things that he said is that the most important thing to keep your humanity is to feel personally any injustice that's done anywhere in the world as if it was being done to you. And I've tried to cultivate that virtue in myself, and that's part of the reason that I came here. That's why I'm not just writing a blog from Austin and selling T-shirts, or going to march around the Texas State Capitol with a sign that says Slava Russia or something. I mean, I put my money where my mouth was. That's another great quote from Che Guevara. He said, "Yes, I'm an adventurer, but of a different kind, because I back up my principles and beliefs, with my own skin." And I've done that, and I respect
Interesting.
people that do that, but then big talking punks that have never done anything, but they want to, they want to backsass me, or, tell me how I should be doing things, and they've never done anything. Well, that chaps my hide.
Texas, we're closing in on the hour. I've got this a little meme that I came across the other day. Whoops, on Telegram. Friend's toddler babbled. Don't forget to subscribe as we put him to bed. Kid watches so much YouTube he thought it means goodbye. Texas, like, share, and subscribe. Have you got anything else that you'd like to say as we sign off?
What do you say? What was the famous quote? Like, subscribe. No, like, share, and scribe.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Just people just need to remember that we're all interrelated. What goes around comes around, and this is a fight for everybody, the future of everybody, not just the kids, but our lives too. And as I've been saying since 2015, as goes Donbass, so goes the world, and that's for real.
It's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And indeed, as goes Donbass, so goes the world. That is what it's looking like. Texas, thank you for stopping by for this catch-up. It's been excellent. I'm going to play some music.
Great to talk to you again, Stefan. Let's keep in touch, man. Come on back if you want anytime.
I'm hoping to sooner or later, but that's going to require some fundraising, because the last trip was about 5,000-6,000 euro. So it's not nothing to come back down, but there is the option of maybe driving down now as well, because there's a ferry from Turkey that's starting.
Cool. That's a good option, dude. That'll probably cut half the cost of your trip, dude. But then again, there's another option, dude.
To come and sell the car.
No, dude. You can always come here and join Wagner and get paid for your trip.
Yeah, no, not yet. Not yet.
All right, bro.
If it comes to Wagner coming to my neighborhood, then I might start thinking about it. Bro. Texas,
good luck
as always.
Here in Serbia too, man. I mean,
yeah, we're gonna need it. It's getting tougher and tougher by the day here. Texas, good talk. Have fun, everyone. Thank you for sticking around. It's been swell. Peace out.